So, some of the most effective ways to create images in Illustrator is to use the shape tool. So, if you notice these two examples, they're really smooth. You still have some dimension in these little animals, but they're all made up of basic shapes that are kind of built one on top of the other or modified. Along with this logo, it's just made up of some really interesting positive and negative space. So, anytime you're drawing in Illustrator, you want to think about, can you create this object or this drawing using the shape tool, because you'll end up getting a lot smoother and bolder edges. So the shape tool here, all of these shape tools, you can click and drag them out. If you hold shift while you click, it keeps them in perfect proportion. And then you'll notice after I let off of this, I can go to my white arrow tool, my direct selection tool, and these little dots are added. This is kind of a newer feature in Illustrator, but if you click and pull on the dot, it curves the corners. Or if you double click and pull on one of the dots, it will just curve one of the corners. So you can like quickly modify the shapes. Also notice that you have your stroke and your fill, that you can modify the color of the fill of the shape or the outline of the shape as well. Notice all of this animal drawing, they don't have outlines. I prefer vector images without outlines, but it's just kind of a stylistic thing. So another way to modify these is with your white arrow tool, of course. If you clicked with that, you can see you have all your anchor points here. So you could double click and like pull out the anchor points. Now, anytime you have a curve, you're going to have these are invisible handles that you can pull out to deepen the curve or flatten the curve. So you can change the curve on those as well. Another thing is if you have a anchor point and you want to make it curved and it's not curved, underneath the pen tool or within the pen tool, if you hold that down, there's this anchor tool, this anchor point tool. Sorry. So if you click on here, this automatically adds those handles to an anchor point so you can continue the curve. So look here, this is a straight line here. It adds those handles so it turns it now into an anchor point with a curve rather than a corner. Under the pen tool, there's also these add anchor point, minus an anchor point, or delete them. So if you hover over anchor points or like a path, you can add an anchor point if you need to like pull something out or change it. You could also get rid of these handles as well by dragging them in to make a point. And then you can also delete the anchor point like so. So you can really quickly modify the shape. You can also, if you double click on the shape tool, if you double click on the page when you do the shape tool, you can make an exact size of a shape too, type in the height and width. So that can be helpful for certain things as well. And then finally, with these shape tools, there are a couple like the Polygon and the star tool. If you click and drag them out, if you press down the arrow tool or up the arrow tool, it'll make more or less sides. So you can, this Polygon or the star, you can add more or less sides by pressing and holding the up and down arrow as you drag it out. You can also, there's this little thing here after you let go that will add or subtract sides as well. This little tiny tag here. Sometimes that's hard to see though.